Welcome to Week 4, presentation for Chapter 3. This is Governance and Strategic Planning for Security. Our learning objectives are to identify the roles and organizations that are active in planning, explain strategic organizational planning for InfoSec, to discuss the importance, benefits, and desired outcomes of information security governance and how the program would be implemented, as well as explain the principal components of InfoSec systems implementation planning in the organizational planning scheme. I know that sounds like a lot, and some of it you may not yet get, but stay with me and we'll go into the role of planning. While a Chief Information Security Officer and other InfoSec managers can generate an urgent response to an immediate threat, they are well advised to utilize a portion of their routinely allocated resources towards the long-term viability of the InfoSec program. Remember that planning involves representatives of the three communities of interest as well as individuals that are internal and external to the organization. And that planning also includes not only the physical environment, but political and legal, competitive, and technological. It is important to note the precursor documents developed to support organizational planning are the mission statement, vision statement, and value statements for the organization. The mission statement simply explains what the organization does and for who they do it. National Archives mission, vision, and values is displayed here. Listen to the following value statement from Random Widget Works. Random Widget Works values commitment, honesty, integrity, and social responsibility among its employees, and is committed to providing its services in harmony with its corporate, social, legal, and natural environments. Vision statements should be ambitious. They are meant to express the aspirations of the organization and serve as a means for visualizing its future. Listen again to the vision statement now for Random Widget Works. Random Widget Works will be the preferred manufacturer of choice for every business's widget equipment needs, with a RWW widget in every machine they use. Strategic planning. Strategic planning guides organizational efforts and focuses resources towards specific, clearly defined goals in the midst of an ever-changing environment. Here you see a visualization of top-down strategic planning. Once the organization's overall strategic plan is translated into strategic goals for each major division or operation, the next step is to translate these strategies into tasks with specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound objectives. The role of information security may at times conflict with that of the IT department, as the IT's role is the efficient and effective delivery of information and information resources, and InfoSec's role is the protection of all information assets. The conversion of goals from the strategic level to the next lower level relies on the executive's ability to know and understand the strategic goals of the entire organization, to know and appreciate the strategic and tactical abilities of each unit within the organization, and to negotiate with peers, superiors, and subordinates. Strategic plans are used to create tactical plans, which are in turn used to develop operational plans. Here you can see the strategic planning levels and the coordination required. Planning levels. Here you see tactical planning and operational planning. The first priority of the CISO and the InfoSec management team should be the structure of the strategic plan. Typical security plan elements include executive summaries, mission, vision, and value statements, organizational profiles and history, strategic issues and core values, corporate goals and objectives, major business units, goals and objectives, and appendices to include market analysis, surveys, budgets, research and development, etc. When planning, remember to articulate a comprehensive and meaningful vision statement. It sets the stage for everything else. Also, remember to seek transparency in planning to make planning changes understandable by stakeholders. If you refer back to our SATA discussions in previous weeks, this information has to be understandable by everyone. Also remember to stick with the process and explain what's being done so the stakeholders understand the intentions of the process. Information security governance. Strategic planning and corporate responsibility are best accomplished using an approach many call governance, risk, management, and compliance, or GRC. The governance of information security is a strategic planning responsibility. According to the Information Technology Governance Institute, information security governance includes all of the accountabilities and methods undertaken by the Board of Directors and Executive Management. In the ways that the Board of Directors can supervise strategic InfoSec objectives, the key is creating and promoting the culture that recognizes the criticality of information and information security to the organization. They set the tone for your organization. Note the desired outcomes: strategic alignment, risk management, resource management, performance measurement, and value delivery by optimizing InfoSec investments. NACD's InfoSec Governance Board of Directors Essential Practices includes placing InfoSec on the board's agenda. It's important that the Board of Directors set that culture we just spoke about. NCSP framework for information security governance includes the annual InfoSec evaluation, periodic risk assessments, implementing policies and procedures based on the risk assessments, and establishing security management structure to assign explicit individual roles, responsibility, authority, and accountability. NCSP framework for information security governance also treats InfoSec as an integral part of the system lifecycle and develops and implements incident response procedures. Here you see the general governance framework. Note the acronym IDEAL for remembering it. InfoSec governance responsibilities are shown here, showing the responsibility and the functional role that would take on that responsibility. In 2007, the CERT division of Carnegie Mellon University's Software Engineering Institute published and promoted an implementation guide for its trademark governing for Enterprise Security, or GES, program. It's now outdated, but it's still useful. Here you see the CERT GES hierarchy. International Standards Organization 27014, or ISO 27014, is the ISO 27000 series standard for governance of information security. Here you see the process flow for the ISO 27014. The convergence of security-related governance and organization has been observed since the broad deployment of information systems began in the 1970s and 1980s. A 2015 study of InfoSec management practices found that most larger organizations still keep physical and information security efforts segregated, even with significant collaboration, while full integration is much more common in smaller organizations. Security convergence by organizational size, number of employees, is shown here. Planning for information security implementation. When the CISO reports directly to the Chief Information Officer, the CIO charges the CISO and other IT department heads with creating and adopting plans that are consistent and supportive of the IT strategy as it supports the entire organizational strategy. The CISO job description shown here. Please note that CISOs create a strategic information security plan with a vision for the future of the information security of the organization. When planning for information security, remember implementation of information security can be accomplished either bottom up or top down. Here shows the two methods, bottom up and top down, to employ InfoSec. At the end of each phase, a review occurs when reviewers determine if the project should be continued, discontinued, outsourced, or postponed. The security systems development lifecycle may differ in several specifics, but the overall methodology is similar to the systems development lifecycle. In this diagram, you can see the waterfall methodology for the SEC SDLC. Investigation often begins with directive from management, begins with the affirmation or creation of security policies, and assembles teams to define the scope and goals. Risk management begins in this stage at the analysis. The design phase actually has two distinct phases: logical design phase, physical design phase. The design phase continues with the formulation of the controls and safeguards used to protect information from attacks by threats. Personnel issues are evaluated in specific training and education programs conducted during the implementation in the SEC SDLC. InfoSec project teams should consist of individuals experienced in one or multiple technical and non-technical areas, which would include the champion, the team leader, security policy developers, risk assessment specialists, security professionals, system administrators, and the end users. Staffing the InfoSec function. The organization has to determine how they will staff the information security functions. This will vary depending on the size of the organization. Here you can see a list of the common InfoSec professionals at an organization. If the program is not adjusting adequately to the changes in the internal or external environment, it may be necessary to begin the cycle again. While systems management model is designed to manage and operate systems, a maintenance model is intended to focus on organizational effort on system maintenance, which includes monitoring, assessment, remediation, review, and a vulnerability assessment. Here's the maintenance model. Going back over what we just covered, remember that planning is central to the management of an organization. Security can begin either as a grassroots effort, bottom up, or with plans formulated by senior management, top down. Remember that the systems development lifecycle is a methodology for the design and implementation of an information system in an organization. Remember the phases of the SEC SDLC. Again, with the phases of SEC SDLC, remember that in the end, if it's not adjusting it adequately, you may have to go through the life cycle again. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope it helps you, along with the reading, to go answer your discussion posts and complete your requirements for the week.